This is a short sort of how-to on solo role-playing. Uh, the way you solo role-play is you're using random dice rolls to answer questions, the sort of thing that you would normally ask your game master. What you're looking at on screen is from my OSR solo rules. Um, there. It, but the same principles apply to almost all uh, the solo rules except the journaling games. In journaling games, you get asked questions and you have to stop and think about how would your character answer the question. In this style of play, you are asking the question as if you were going to ask the game master, and you then use dice rolls and probability to give you an answer. Once you have that answer, you can then improvise with it. And now, if you look at this little table here, it's a simple d6 table. Um, if your character wanted to offload some stolen goods, I'm not going to ask how they got hold of them, but now if you were looking for a fence, you could role play the whole thing of you going into taverns, looking for the sort of shady taverns, trying to overhear what people are saying in that the little sort of little cubicle, not cubicles, little alcoves and things, the quiet tables at the back. Now, the chance of you finding a fence to offload your goods is much more likely in a city, in the Docklands area, say, or in the Port Quarter, than it is if you're in some affluent little village, and so if you're in the city, these rules are saying, it's +1 if the events are likely. If I just make that a little bit bigger, um, you should be able to read that. So that's a +1 on the roll if it's likely. If you are in that leafy little village, and the chance of you finding someone prepared to buy stolen goods is going to be low, so that's going to be a minus. Then you roll your d6, and there's this result here. So if I rolled a 5 and we're in the city, that becomes a 6. You get a yes and. Now the and these kind of and or the but, these say it's not just a yes, but it's a yes and something, you know something more important on top of that. You could you're looking for a fence, and you see someone who's trying to do some kind of deal, looks like it's quite dodgy, and the person they're talking to is a noble, that you're aware of. So you you take the result and you weave into the story, trying to make the fiction better. Everything becomes a plot hook, and you just follow the hooks and the suggestions, wherever they go. No one knows where a solo story is going to end. Um, there's a rule here for generating a plot twist. You roll a couple of d6 and bolt the two halves together in this case. Um, if I roll 2 4s, you get a physical event hinders the hero. And, a physical event can be, anything. You know, so if I was going to try and get close to this fence and the nobles see what they're talking about, maybe try and get some kind of interpose myself in their conversation, it could be at that moment the town guard decide to raid the tavern. That is the physical event. Now, yeah, I had no idea that was going to happen. I'm literally just freewheeling, thinking, yeah, that's um, you what that's what that meant to me. This particular set of rules, if we go down a page or two, um, has these things where the complex questions. If find someone's diary and you turn to where did what were they up to last week? You look at the diary, and we'll go with 2 4s again. Opposing old law or magic. So in a they were arguing someone, opposing. Maybe someone was thinking of dabbling with some. They found an old magical, a book on magic, and in according to the diary, this person was advising them not to deal with it, not to play with it. It's something bad. Just bolting. This little table only gives 36 options technically, but every single option takes on a different meaning where you are in your story. Because I'm just making this up as I go along. I don't have a setting. I don't have a character. I have no hard points, no established fiction. But if we were in a leafy suburb, the opposition could be much more minor. If you're in Necromancer's Tower, I would expect these to take on a much stronger meaning, much more significance in the story. Here's a little table for conversations. Now, if you can only hear one side of the conversation, you would just roll for speaker one. If you can hear both, if the fence and the noble are talking, you trying to overhear them, I'll stick with 2 4s. Needs to know but doesn't care. Well, there you go. The noble needs to know a price. He wants to sell something. The fence doesn't care. He's not interested. He doesn't want to buy what the noble is selling. Now you can just riff with that. What stolen thing or what thing would a noble desperately want to sell to a fence, where the fence doesn't want it? And it could be that the fence is playing hard to get, so sort of thing, or driving down the price because they're just because they can. But this is a set of tools that you can use, and your stories can just go wherever you want. The secret to solo play is to not block an answer. If the answer says yes, you find a fence, then great, you find the fence. Don't think, well, no, I don't want to do that. Or it's a bit like improvisational acting. You just sort of go with it, go with the flow. Let the dice and the questions you ask. Let the questions prompt more questions if you need to. Imagine the scene, imagine your character, imagine the NPCs. You may not. I tend to not role play every single word of a conversation, but I like to work with the gists of conversations. What was being meant rather than what was being said. My character may be a great orator, but I'm not. So you can just go. I could imagine my character delivering a speech to a crowd and wowing them, but I couldn't give a speech to a crowd and wow them. This is role playing. It's not. I don't have to get on stage and do it. Now, this is just one set of rules. There are rules. There are generic rules you can apply to anything, and there are games like Iron Sworn, which are the solo rules, are an inherent part of the system. And then you get narrative games or journaling games where the game asks you the questions, and the fun comes in learning about the character and the situation by answering the questions that the game asks you. But this is kind of how it all works. It's question and answer, where you would ask the game master or the DM questions about the world, If you want to know is there a back door to this tavern, you could roll a d6. I'm going to stick with fours and say yes, but there is a back door, but well, it seems logical. A couple of town guard have just burst in through it. So yes, there is a door, but it's not actually a viable exit. Um, so you can just use these and riff off them, and just as you would, you would ask a game master, can I see the back door? And the game master would describe. They may well have plotted what was going to happen. With you, no one knows what's going to happen. With the solo game, completely open-ended. There's no railroad at all. You are just using what you know of the setting and the style of play. If it's a hack and slash game, then this situation, guards pouring in through every entrance, is going to turn into a fight because that's what happens in hack and slash games. If it's a game of political intrigue and politics, then chances are that you're not going to start hacking about, killing guards. Something to do with a noble. Maybe you get arrested and somebody else bails you out, but you now owe them a favour. That's a different adventure again. But this is what solo roleplay is about. It's big at the moment because of the whole not being able to get together in a group. It's an alternative to virtual tabletops. It it is an alternative to. It's not a replacement for. It's a great way of learning a game. You can let the solo rules put you into situations, and then you learn the rules by seeing how do I resolve this. Am I rolling skills? I like the old school way. If I was searching for traps, I would describe or imagine how my character is searching. What are they doing? Where are they searching? And then I can actually just roll this dice and see if there is a trap to be found. I don't need to have dozens of skills to roll, to find traps. A thief in a sort of D20 game would have disarm trap skill and detect traps. I would roll that skill. If they detect whether there is a trap, then I would roll to see if there is one. If they fail to detect the trap, it would depend on how I proceeded. If I was then going to open the door, open the box, or whatever, then I would roll to see whether there really was a trap. You don't make unnecessary rolls. It's not a game of 20 questions where you keep rolling to eliminate options. You just sort of go with the flow. So this, I've called this video how to solo roleplay part 1. I'm going to look at other questions I've been asked about solo playing, and I will try and answer those. And I'll probably pick out a different book each time, just so you get to see many different styles of solo rules. So that's it for this time. But there will be more videos in this series. Okay, that's it. Thank you.